Hey, what's going on, y'all? So today I found an article on Reddit under the news subreddit. I'm always, peering that. And it's called San Diego Unified School District Changes Grading System to Combat Racism. I thought this was an interesting, headline. I thought maybe it could be clickbait or something like that. So I decided to read the article to check it out a bit. And that's what we got. So let's watch this together, and then we'll run through the article.
The San Diego Unified School District has decided to overhaul the way that it grades students. Board members say the changes are part of a larger effort to combat racism.
NBC7's Alexis Rivas spoke with two board members about this new policy and what it means for students.
Remember that passes 5-0.
San Diego Unified School Board members unanimously approved changes to how teachers grade students. Those changes were prompted by a dark reality. District data presented shows teachers fail more minority students than white students. A lot more. 30% of failing marks went to English learners, 25% to students with disabilities. By ethnicity, 23% went to Native Americans, another 23% of failing grades went to Hispanics, and 20% of D or F grades went to black students. Compare all that with the just 7% of white students who received a D or F.
It's not fair. It should never have been that way, but it persists.
San Diego Unified School Board Vice President Richard Barrera says now grades will no longer represent a yearly average. Instead, they'll focus on whether a student ultimately masters the material. Also, teachers can no longer consider non-course material factors like turning assignments in on time and classroom behavior into a student's academic grade.
I think this reflects, a reality that our students have described to us, and it's a change that's a long time in coming.
One of those students is Zachary Patterson.
I know a lot of my friends and students all across our district are excited about this.
A school board student member and 11th grader at University City High School.
And especially in the time of COVID right now, we're seeing that the inequities in our communities are so strong.
I don't know why. Like when I see this kid, I just imagine like that kid that he was cool with everybody, but the teachers and whatever faculty also liked him. He got like the straight A's, so like he could like convince the teachers to like somehow make life easier for all the other students, and they would believe him that it was a good idea. And I don't know why. I just remember that kid seeing from my like high school days.
And it is not fair of us to put forth policies that only cater to the students that are able to meet these requirements.
He says
I think, man, someday that kid's gonna grow up to be like a politician or something. I was thinking about this actually after I watched this video for the first time, and I was like, man, maybe that's what a politician's really supposed to be, like like that one kid in the class who the teachers like, the faculty like, and he can convince them to make student life easier. And it would be like a politician today, I guess. I don't know, negotiating with our rich overlords or whoever controls this place to to make life easier for the laborers and stuff. So I don't know, good for that kid.
he's seen some of those inequities firsthand and hopes this grading system revamp will work to correct that.
It's going to be a monumental shift within our school system. And that I do understand, and I will see at my own school, and every student in the district will see.
Alexis Rivas, NBC7.
So there's a lot there. I'm kind of conflicted in how I feel about this. Obviously I grew up in the classic grading system. I think it's interesting, especially with the statistics for who's getting Fs and who's doing well, and I'm sure there's many factors that go into that. I also found it interesting. So if you look in the article here, so they can't like mark students down based off when they turn in the assignments and things like that. And I know like deep down, like, getting something done and finished on time is supposed to be like a valuable skill, at least for, your professional career. Ideally, if you have to do something for your employer and they want you to get it done by a certain time, you'll get it done. Otherwise, they'll probably let you go if that keeps happening. But the other part of me also really enjoys that. I mean, as a student, I would like that. And I know there's many different kind of learners and pressure and deadline and stuff like that. And I don't know. I was kind of perusing through the comments under the article and read it, and a lot of folks were conflicted about that very point. So that was interesting. Another thing that's also interesting from the article is, so if you go down to the end, where did I see that? It was about another big change. Teachers can no longer consider non-material factors when grading. Things like turning work in on time and classroom behavior will now instead count towards a student's citizenship grade. So I don't know what the citizenship grade is. I found that to be interesting. I don't know if a citizen, like, I wish they would have expanded more on the citizenship grade. Maybe I'm missing it. I didn't see anything else in the article. I didn't see anything else in the video. But that sounds really interesting. I guess maybe that's more of a participation thing. Like, if I could imagine what that would be, like how well they participate in the learning environment at school. That's the only thing I could imagine what it would be. Maybe they need to participate in clubs or extracurriculars at school, and it can help them with their citizenship grade. But that's another interesting factor here. There was one more thing I noticed. Let me see if I can find this. It had to do with cheating. Okay, so it says, after Patterson expressed concerns at this week's meeting, the board will also review potential student disparities stemming from its zero-tolerance disciplinary policy on cheating in the coming weeks. So that's kind of strange in the sense of they're going to review the disciplinary protocols or actions for when someone gets caught, cheating. I would assume that's what I'm taking from that sentence, and I don't know what else they would plan to do about that. I mean, I don't think this is an outright, declaration of, oh, cheating's okay, we're going to allow cheating, but maybe it's one of those things where, like, well, we're not going to want to fail a student outright just because they got caught cheating. Maybe, like, they can, I don't know, serve a detention or something, but it shouldn't affect their overall grade. Maybe so long as they demonstrate. I'm really reaching here to try to find the reason why they're doing that. I mean, and I'm hoping it's something like this. A lot of times I think most people will look at a sentence like that and think, oh, great, so that all the students can cheat now. But I'm hoping it's coming from a place of, okay, you got caught cheating, you're still going to get some kind of disciplinary thing going on, but we're not going to outright give you a 0% on your midterm or your final because you got caught cheating. Like, there's going to be a path to redemption, which will ideally help you learn the material and not get you held back a grade or something like that. So that was interesting. I know the huge part about this is the racial disparities there in the grades, and that's why they're implementing this, which is supposed to help. In this sentence here, the San Diego Unified School District is overhauling the way it grades students. Board members say the changes are part of a larger effort to combat racism. So the overall premise of this article is that these grade disparities stem from a kind of racist or systemic racist origin, and by changing the grading procedures and eliminating this, it should be more inclusive of getting more students from different backgrounds, and maybe socioeconomic backgrounds. I didn't really mention that so much. Higher grades and ideally access to better opportunities in their sort of post, high school educational lives. So I don't know. I think a lot of people look at this and they're like, this should just be merit based. And for the most part, I mean, I tend to agree with that, I guess, like, especially when it comes to getting seats at elite level universities and things like that. But at the same time, I do one of the things that I appreciate in, I guess, any civilization, or in our case, the super civilization that is the United States, with many different states and counties that, for a lot of the part can govern themselves, is that they're able to try these different methods of instituting some kind of thing. So it could maybe, this might work. For all we know, this might work, and it might be better for the students, and it might teach us something. And maybe a lot of other counties will start to adopt this process of grading. It could also be a complete disaster. This could lead to a lot of students failing. It could lead to bad study habits. Maybe they do this now, and when they get to college, they just fail out really fast because they just can't keep up. I remember experiencing that when I got out of high school. I went to a fairly low-income high school, and when I went to college, that was in UC Davis, so it was a UC level school, University of California, and it's not one of the highest ranked universities in the state, but it's decent, and I remember a lot of the classes were, it was not like high school, high school honors and AP. It was, you could kind of breeze through it, to be frank, for the most part. But in university, like, I had to sit there and cultivate actual study habits and, do this on time. I couldn't just wait for the last minute and cram everything and think I was going to pass. And I learned that reality really quick. And I saw a lot of people who failed out of university because they struggled to adapt to that. So if they change their grading system here, it could create bad study habits that could lead to problems like that, or but at the same time, I really don't know. I don't know what their motivations are. I don't know if San Diego Unified School District is doing this because maybe some of their funding depends on how well the students perform, and if they change this, it'll allow them to ideally have higher performing students. Another thing that I think about is the cheating factor in this, how they're revisiting the zero tolerance policy. I remember when I was in high school, their cheating was fairly rampant. You know what I mean? A lot of folks did it. I'm sure, when teachers see people, like, they would get in trouble, whatever. In my college, if you got caught cheating, you would just take the F, like, it'd be a complete fail. And, in a class that only has maybe one midterm and one final, that's pretty much a failing grade. So no one really did it. But in high school, like, I remember it was pretty ubiquitous, at least where I went. So, I'd imagine that they're revisiting the zero tolerance disciplinary policy only because they have such a problem with cheating in a lot of these places. And it's almost like them acknowledging this is a huge problem. I feel like there's some teachers out there who, they're not stupid. I don't think they're stupid. Like, I think when you're sitting there, you can know when someone, like, you can kind of catch it out of the corner of their eye, like, all right, this person's fidgety. Like, they might be cheating. And then maybe at a certain point they just stop caring, or they just look the other way, or whatever it is. But I don't know. Maybe not. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I'm interested in the sense that I want to watch to see how this experimental grading procedure turns out. I would like to comment more on the combating the racism part and seeing, how that is. I think a lot of people would correlate performance in school not so much with the teaching. Because you have 7% of white kids that the failing grades are going to versus 23% and 20% of some of the other ones. I didn't see Asian kids listed in here. Maybe I missed it. 23% to Native Americans, 23% failing grades to Hispanics, 20% DRF to black students, and just 7% to white students. That's all that's on here. people would say, well, maybe it has to do with the parental involvement, and maybe they're not studying at home. Maybe they're not being encouraged to do their homework at home, or their parents aren't sitting with them and helping them with that. I could tell you my parents, mostly my mom, I think would help me with my homework. I mean, at least till like the fourth grade or something. I never had that much trouble with homework, but when I did, I'd go ask my mom, and she'd sit there with me and try to get it figured out. That pretty much wasn't a thing in high school. I mean, at that point, I was kind of just doing my own work, and it was fine. And I think a lot of these grades, that kid that they interviewed was in high school. He was an 11th grader. So I don't know how involved parents are supposed to be at that time. I'd imagine still somewhat. But I think some might say this is ultimately a futile experiment here, and that it's not going to lead to these kids being more successful, because really the problem starts in their home lives. I guess that's yet to be seen. So we'll see how that goes. So maybe you can tell me what you guys think. You could check out this article here and give me your opinion. I'm genuinely interested. Only because this is so close to home. I live in California, so I appreciate that they're taking a new route here, and it'll be interesting to see how it goes. I can also say, if I was a kid going to this high school, I'd probably be kind of elated, like, oh, great, so I can like start, not turning in my homework on time, like and it wouldn't be that big of a deal, so long as I kind of learn the main concepts. But I don't know, it kind of goes back to creating the bad study habits. But then if college kind of changed to sort of work in tandem with this, maybe it could work. So anyways, thanks for listening.